if we could appreciate that when you go from the breast to raw milk instead of breast to pasteurized milk, that child will thrive. Because, in fact, the raw milk from the cow is very similar to the raw milk from the mother. A little different protein, but nonetheless, same wonderful biodiversity, enzyme-rich, all that kind of stuff. You're going to continue to build that immune system. The child will thrive in and won't be the one that has the ear infection, won't be the one with a long cold or the flu this year. The one at daycare, the only one that can stand up to the rest of the environment because they have a strong immune system. The kind of bacteria we find out in the pasture, the sun-drenched place of growth out in the farm, is the same kind of bacteria you find in the milk. We don't have a factory farm environment, piles of manure and antibiotics and hormones and all that artificial stuff. We have a sun-drenched, biodiverse, living grass environment, and the cows live and play out there, and that's where they eat. That bacteria is manifest in their digestive tracts, shared with other cows in the slobber and all the eating they're doing in the pasture, and manifest absolutely in their milk. When a baby breastfeeds its mother, it's not a one-way street. The baby suckles from the mother's breast. Guess what? Bacteria in the baby's mouth is shared up in the teat canal to the mother. The mother responds by building immunity, the antibodies, and creates an immune factory of antibodies in her milk to feed the baby back in a few hours later. So the baby can have the immunity it needs to build an even more robust immune system. So mother is its own the mother is an inoculum factory for the baby. It's very intimate in terms of how these physiological interactions work. We at Organic Pastures Dairy are absolutely and completely committed to what I'm talking about tonight in terms of building the right physiology to have strong kids and strong adults to make good decisions and lead our country in the right direction. And that's what this is all about. And this is sustainable medicine because it doesn't require massive fortunes of money to provide health care for people because people aren't sick to begin with. And what a great message that is. That's great. And so that's what this is all about, is prevention. That's what Weston Price is all about, and that's what I'm all about, that's what Blaine's about, and that's what everybody's about, that's what Steve's about, and Kim's about tonight, is trying to share this message that you can have absolute control, or nearly so. There's a lot of external environmental toxins we got to deal with out there too, but we don't live in a vacuum. You got to deal with that. And if you have a strong immune system, you can deal with most of those environmental toxins a lot better than if you're weak and you can't. So this is about sustainable management of you, the person, taking personal responsibility yourself to be a robust human being and be healthy and have a life that's filled with health. Yes?
Does it make any difference if it's whole or skim?
Good question. Yes, it does. Whole milk is whole milk. Skim milk is missing a lot of its butterfat. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not good food, but it's missing a lot of its butterfat. And remember, in butterfat you find some of the vitamins. You certainly have a lot of bacteria that's in there, and you have amino acids and fatty acids. Now, if you take some skim milk and some whole milk and you pour it together, you're going to have some fat. You're going to have whole milk at 4% and skim milk at maybe 0.5%. And so you have half and half. The reason I'm saying this is because ethically I feel a little bit weird. We sell skim milk. We sell whole milk. Whole milk is what Weston Price people pray to because it's the whole enchilada. But we are selling, starting 2 weeks from now, we are selling skim milk below organic milk prices, because we have so much skim milk left over. It takes 100 pounds of milk to make 3 pounds of butter. So can you imagine we have 96 pounds or 95 pounds of milk we throw away to give to calves, or we sell the organic market to be pasteurized? And we want that to go to people. So it still has all the probiotic nutrition, still has all the enzymes, still has many of the same vitamins, but not the higher level. So we are going to go to the public with a price that's probably $2.89 to $2.99 per half gallon, which is less than half the price of the whole milk, to be able to get more people into raw milk and maybe be able to satisfy some of the economic issues. People say, I just can't afford your product. Now they can. And they can get into it. They may not have all the value, but it's going to come darn close because it still has fat in it, but just not as much. And they can buy some whole milk sometimes and supplement. So that's the answer to the question. It's not whole. It's missing some of its butterfat, but it's certainly a whole lot better than pasteurized dead milk. This is filled with all of its good bacteria. What else did I want to say about that? Any questions so far? Any thoughts? I'm talking too quickly, but I've so much to cover.
Use of probiotics as an addendum, or, I mean, I'm a firm believer in different types of probiotics. If you are on if you're using a lot of raw milk, would you say you need less probiotics?
When you say probiotic, you're talking about it as a supplement.
Acidophilus, different supplements. I mean, are these overrated? They're
I don't know which ones you're talking about. I know that there's some that have been tested that are not very viable. Other ones are very viable. So every one of them. But if you think about the form that they're in a pill. Okay? And they've been cultured and packed into a little thing. And it has to survive to get into your body to be used. Some of them survive pretty good, some of them don't survive very well at all. So I can't really speak specifically to each supplement. However, I do know that raw milk as a whole food, a lot of the probiotics and the various different elements are covered with oligosaccharides, which are protective in the digestive tract to get down, to seed in, and actually survive into the lower GI. And don't die in the stomach. They actually do okay going through the 1 or 2 pH in the stomach, and they actually survive because the oligosaccharides and the other elements that are protective can actually get the bacteria to survive to the lower GI tract. So I can't really speak to that because every one of the supplements is different, and everyone has their own analysis in terms of how viable they are.
And some are enteric-coated and all that.
Right.
What's your recommendation on a good dose of milk per day?
Actually, it's a food, so there is no recommendation. It's a food. Take as much as you want to. I drink a cup every day. Blaine works, Blaine's a cup every day. You can, if you have a sensitivity to raw milk, try kefir first and make a kefir shake because it's pre-digested. There's no lactose sugar there. It has all the enzymes, all the minerals are completely liberated and available without digesting. It's like baby poop, puke. It's pre-digested. It's like, it looks like it. Same thing. It's actually got. It does. I mean, look at it. You got it over there. It looks just like curdled baby milk. That's because exactly what it is. You've taken kefir grains, which is an inoculum, put it into the milk, let it ferment for 2 days at 80 degrees. So it's pre-digested. And the Russians love it. Americans, we're kind of sensitive in the palate. Some of us don't like it so much because it's sour, But you know what? If you've got irritable bowel syndrome, and you suck that down and you feel better, you'll pray to it. Now, for those of us that are a little bit more sensitive, you could take a blender, put the kefir in there, and add some berries and a banana, and make it the most delicious milkshake you've ever had in your life. And kids will love it. They just eat it up. And you still have the same diet. What's that?
Do you sell the kefir?
We don't. Yeah, we do sell the kefir. You can buy that at the store. You can make it yourself with kefir grains. It's not hard to do. Chef Jim can show you how to do it. And you can give it to your kids or drink it yourself. It's great stuff. It actually keeps your hunger down for like half the day. I know Blaine, she works really hard at the hospital. She'll have a kefir shake in the morning and not be hungry until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, honey, but that's been your experience. Mm-hmm. It's really satisfying in terms of just filling all the little holes in your body and your hunger goes away. And it's not fattening. It's really good.
I was
Just
sitting
by
here
that.
and I had forgotten to eat dinner, and so I went and I grabbed just a little bit of kefir. I'm like, gosh, I'm really not hungry at all.
Yeah. If you look at the way raw milk is ingested around the world, it's rarely ever drank fresh. You get fresh raw milk for the first couple hours, and then it's put in some kind of gourd or container that wasn't washed very well. It's filled with an inoculum from the old raw milk. And it's drank as fermented milk the next day or 2 days. And if you look at the history of man, you look at 30,000 years, and you look at where the first raw milk was actually used, and its first documentation was Ukraine, southern grasslands of Russia. And you think about how they drank raw milk. They had a goat stomach, and the milk would go in the goat stomach, and they drink that right away. And then they let it sit, and it would turn to curd and whey. And they would drink the whey, and my gosh, all the bodybuilders love that stuff. It's robust protein drink. And the fermentation process would carry the casein to make it into cheese. So you wring out the goat stomach, and the rennet in the goat stomach would help the fermentation process. And then you'd have curd. So you reach in there and grab your curd, and the curd was cheese. So you have cheese, that's protein. So you had yourself a nice little meal. And that's how the milk manifested itself, just like grapes manifest itself as wine, fermented wine. Milk would manifest itself as cheese. And that's kind of where it began when man was running around trying to chase down animals and kill them. Sometimes the animals would kill them. It was pretty kind of tough to do that way nomadically. But when you were able to settle down and have a cow or a goat or a horse or whatever you would nurse or get milk from, and have that animal eat grasses that you couldn't eat and convert that into food, then you had milk and cheese that you could eat. You changed the societal norms of what was going on culturally and with civilization. And in fact, the first settlers in the United States, Christopher Columbus in the United States, they all died and went back to Europe before the arrival of the first cows. You look at the underlying foundations of our country. Shouldn't talk about this now. The Wall Street, the stock market, that was based on the stock, livestock, animals, and the trade of beef and milk and cheese. So the underpinnings of our country, literally, the Donner Party, they started eating each other when the cows died, There wasn't a Conestoga wagon that came across this country without 2 or 3 cows in tow behind. And with a calf or something, and got really hungry, you eat the calf if you had to. So, these are part of Americana and part of the world. Oprah Winfrey, What did she do? She donated heifers and goats to starving communities around the world to restart their economic survival, because people would starve, they had no means to eat. They had grass around that they couldn't eat. They'd put a cow there or a goat there or something and start to eat that grass, and they'd start having something to trade, and people stopped starving. So there's a real underlayment in terms of when you have no food, these animals make a big, big difference between Mother Nature and the environment around you and your ability to eat. So, it's not the vegetables, but these other things that, the other meats and milks and things that people can have a balanced diet. There is a big political battle going over control of the markets for milk in the United States. There are tens of millions of dollars a year, and I don't know the exact number, excuse me, but in California there's about 2 million cows and about 2,000 dairies. In fact, I'm wearing a shirt today that got milk. Here's millions upon millions of dollars are spent across the nation to promote got milk.